Hope y'all had a good weekend. I know you can see my nice little sunburn I got. Oh, I was just telling Rick we were at an air show in Fort Worth on Saturday. And so sitting out in the sun, and I put sunscreen on, but it just didn't get right there, I guess. But my name is Anna. Welcome to our faculty staff yoga class. We have 45 minutes together for our practice today. If you're joining online, just make sure you have some space around you. I have blocks here with me. If you want to and you don't have a block, you can also use a book or a water bottle or a pillow, anything like that for support. Announcements I have for today, the biggest one is that next week y'all are going to have Maggie again. My mom's coming into town. I'm excited. And so I got to take her back to the airport on Monday, but Maggie will be here, and then you'll have me the following week on the 29th, 30th, whatever that Monday is. And then our interim schedule starts on May 1st. So you'll be seeing that coming out. I know Miranda and I, when we made the interim schedule, there is yoga on Mondays, Body Blaster Wednesdays, still at that 12:15 time. Just know that all those classes on the interim schedule will be over in the 300 rooms. And you'll sign up through the Rec Sports app, as always, once we get to our interim schedule. Those will be blended classes with students and faculty and staff, just so you know. And during our interim, we don't have virtual. So just letting the virtual folks know that we won't be having that option during that time. So that's the only announcement I have. Go ahead and get comfortable. We're going to start with our breathing and meditation. So whatever position works for you for that, go ahead and get into it. And we will get moving. So just starting to close your eyes if you want to, getting comfortable with your space. Feeling free if you want to, you can always continue moving, changing positions. You can also start to close your eyes if that feels good for you today. Shifting our focus inward is what we do when we close our eyes. And then maybe using these first few minutes to observe or take note of how your body's feeling today, how your mind is feeling today. Maybe noticing how your breath is feeling today. Maybe starting to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose if that feels accommodating to you. If not, at any time you can find an open mouth breath, especially if you're coming into this space feeling warmer or hotter today. Thinking about inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, that can help us start to cool our body down. Maybe taking this first few minutes to set an intention for your practice today, whatever that is, whatever you're wanting to get out of the class. An intention can also be a goal or something that you have in mind. Maybe a reason why you're here. Continuing to find your diaphragmatic breathing. So I want you to think about breathing deep from your belly, up into your ribs, up into your chest, and then exhale from your ribs or your chest, your ribs to your belly. We call this our 3-part breath. Inflating your belly as big as you can, finding that expanding breath, we call it as well. You're welcome to find this breath in our practice today. It helps to bring that relaxation into our mind and body, and also down-regulate our central nervous system. We can always also find any other breath technique or strategy that feels good for us today. Always remembering that what I give for options are always options that you can choose, and you have the power to choose what feels best for your body today. Remembering that control that you have over your practice. When we're ready, we'll slowly start to take our hands by our sides, wherever we are. And we can start to inhale, sweeping the arms up and overhead. And exhale, hands back down by our sides. whether we're seated, laying down on our bellies. Inhaling, lengthening our spines. Exhaling, hands down by the sides. Still keeping these nice deep breaths. We'll take one more big inhale. And as we exhale, we can bring our knees to our chest or slowly make our way back up to a seated position. And when we're ready, we can all roll ourselves to one side, coming up to a seated position, whatever feels good for us. We call this Sukhasana or crisscross, but you don't have to sit like this. You can also extend your legs, bend your knees, whatever feels good for you. Let it sit up nice and tall, inhaling our arms up to the sky to lengthen the spine. Exhale, right hand reaches down, left arm up and over, side body stretch. In this position, I want you to press your sit bones into the mat. So one hip isn't rolling to one side. Inhaling, coming back to center. Exhaling, left hand down. Feel that nice lateral flexion, still lengthening tall through the spine. And then just start to take this at your own pace. Inhale to center. Exhale, side body stretch. Moving with your own personal breath here. Anchoring down through our sit bones. Lengthening our spine with each inhale. We'll take one more on each side. A lot of times in our everyday lives, we don't move around in this side of our body. So thinking about getting these nice benefits now of the lateral flexion in our spine. Next time we exhale, we're going to take this to a gentle twist over our right shoulder, only twisting gently. Inhaling, we come back to center, and exhale, twist to the other side. Still lengthening the spine, twisting from our belly or chest. And then starting to move through this just like before at your own pace. So don't feel like you have to match my rhythm, but match the rhythm of your breath. Inhaling when you come center, exhaling as you twist. And we'll take one more round on each side. Finding an inhale, let's meet back in center. Arms reach up to the sky. As we exhale, hands come behind us. I like to make fists behind my back. Lift and roll the shoulders back, heart to the sky. In this position, we don't want to let the head fall too far back up to the ceiling because that puts pressure on our cervical spine. So making sure we have about an L shape between the chin and the chest, lengthen through the neck. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, find a seated forward fold, coming forward as much as we feel good. Hands walk to the top of our mat. Inhaling, come back to center. Exhaling, hands behind us. Lift through the chest, roll the shoulders back, heart to the sky. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, seated forward fold. Taking this 2 more times at your own pace, just like we did before. Still finding that expanding breath, maybe opening through our chest as we find expansion, and then through our upper back and shoulders as we find that flexion. When we finish with our hands coming to the front of our mat, we'll keep our hands there, just shifting ourselves around, bringing our hands under our shoulders and our knees under our hips, in all fours, hands and knees. So remembering there's a little space between the hands and the knees. Fingers are soft, pressing into the palm of the hand. Inhaling, we drop our belly to the mat, lift our hips, and then our chest, our heart for our cow. Exhale, chin to chest, round through the spine into your cow. And continue this at your own pace. Inhale to your cow, exhale to your cat. Moving through the full spine. low back tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And we reverse it. So thinking about segmenting the spine, starting with the hips, the low back, mid back, upper back, shoulders, then head, and then reverse it from the head, the shoulders, the upper back, the mid back, low back, tailbone. Feeling free to add in any tail wags or hip moves or hip circles, side to side, whatever feels good for you. Adding in any other movements that might feel good, maybe releasing through your wrist. Once again, just listening to our bodies and moving in a way that maybe our bodies are wanting us to explore. One more round of breath here wherever we are. Coming back to all fours, hands and knees when we're ready. We'll inhale, reach our right arm out in front of us, extend our left leg behind us. From here, as we exhale, we draw the knee into the elbow, rounding through the spine. Inhale, extend opposite arm and leg, hip shoulder height. Exhale, round. One more time, inhale. One more exhale. Inhale to lengthen and then release that hand and knee to the mat. We switch sides. Inhale, left arm, right leg, lengthen the spine from the fingers to the toes. Exhale, round, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. One more time. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, round. Last inhale and exhale. So we're doing the elbow to knee 3 times, and we can just start to flow through this on each side. Inhale, lengthen. Thinking about our back foot on the back leg. The back leg, we want it nice and long, and we're pushing through the heel of the foot. So the leg is long. Balance and stability, warming up the muscles in our core from our shoulders all the way to our hips. Keeping the eyes to the floor. Spine is nice and neutral. Y'all are doing awesome. Finishing out your round to even it up on each side. You're doing great. Whenever you finish your even out on each side, you can come back to your all fours, hands and knees. From here, we'll take our knees to the long edges of the mat. Tops of the feet down, we sit hips towards the heels, finding child's pose. Remembering that we can always use a block here if we'd like to set our head on or even our hands on. Taking our knees as wide as it feels good for us, relaxing through the belly here in this child's pose. Maybe noticing how our hips are feeling. This is a little hip opener, first one of the day. But child's pose is also a rest pose that we can come into at any time in our practice. Maybe finding that expanding breath. Inhaling from the low back, the ribs up to the upper back. Exhaling, expanding that breath through our back and our shoulders. When we're ready, we'll walk our hands to the top of the mat, finding a plank position. So a little bit more heat we're going to build in our core. Hands under shoulders, knees in line with hips, but they're behind the hips. So we have to shift the body forward in that plank. So it's a little different. This is our all fours, hands and knees, right? Hands walk forward, shoulders over wrists, core muscles engaged. As we exhale, we come down, hover, elbows in by the sides. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, child's pose, hips go back. So building into our half series. Option 2, as we inhale, we can exhale all the way down to our mat, either hovering or all the way down. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, child's pose. Next option, we can inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower down, chest to the mat, hips on the mat. Roll the shoulders back, lift your chest, but release your hands. So hover the hands, maybe eye gaze slightly lifted, long spine here for our baby cobra. Press your hands into the mat. Exhale, child's pose. Yes. And then last time, if you want to explore full cobra, inhale forward. Exhale, come down, elbows squeeze in, brace the core, roll the shoulders back first, lift the hands, then press into the hands, push yourself up, full cobra. Exhale, child's pose. Excellent. And y'all can move through that sequence 2 more times with whatever options feel good for you. Even on your toes, if you want to do this, from plank to down dog or plank to child's pose. Building heat in the body here. The key on that cobra is we really want to think about rolling the shoulders back. The weight shouldn't be up in our shoulders. Roll the shoulders back, lift the heart. And then once we finish out our 2 rounds of our half series, we'll meet back in child's pose. Or if you're wanting to explore downward facing dog, we can do that, lifting our hips up to the sky in that inverted V. Maybe bending knees right and left, seeing how the calf, hamstrings are feeling. And then eye gaze to the top of the hands, we'll walk our feet to our hands, finding our first forward fold of the day. We can always find a block if we'd like. Feet can be under our shoulders or outside our hips. From here, think softening through the knees. For some reason, there's a misconception in a forward fold in yoga that our knees should be locked, but we want to soften here. Releasing through the low back and the hips. We can shake our head yes and no, releasing tension in the neck. And then as we're ready, we'll bring our hands to the shins, thighs, floor. Inhale, lengthen for our half lift. So roll the shoulders back. Exhale, soften, forward fold. One more time, inhale, we call this half lift or monkey. Exhale, soften and fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. This time, arms lift up to the sky. And then exhale, we sit back and find chair pose. So weight is in our heels. It's a squat, yep. We can wiggle our toes in the bottom. Inhale, one more time. Little back extension if we want on our extended mountain. Exhale, chair pose. And then we put it all together. So let's inhale, lift the spine, lengthen. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Softening the knees. Inhale, lift to lengthen, half lift. Exhale, soften, forward fold. Stepping back to find your plank, knees or toes. Exhale, we find our chaturanga if we'd like. We can inhale up to cobra or up dog or back to plank. Exhale, down dog or child's pose. Stepping right, left, right to the top of our mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive. And exhale, chair. One more time with me. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Inhale, lift up, lengthen the spine, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back to find your plank. Knees, toes. Exhale, chaturanga or option hover. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, down dog or child's pose. Stepping, lunging, walking to the top of your mat. Forward fold, we exhale. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, chair. Taking 2 more rounds of this sun salutation. That's what we're doing. At your own pace. Feeling free to add on anything or omit anything or change anything that we want to. The goal here is getting our heart rate up and moving the breath that we're inhaling in our freshly oxygenated blood, getting that blood flowing to all of our major muscles that we're using in our class today. Once we finish our 2 rounds, we'll meet back in our down dog or our child's pose. And we can always make our way to our child's pose at any time as well. Remembering to think about on our sun salutations, it's that one breath to movement. So 1-to-1 ratio means inhale to one move and exhale to one move. Awesome. Once we get back to our down dog or our child's pose, we can walk our dog. Take a deep breath here. We can find three-legged dog when we're ready, or three-legged quadruped is what we call it, with one knee down. We're going to inhale left leg to the sky for our three-legged dog or three-legged quadruped. Exhale, step the left foot forward and through to find a low lunge. 1 or 2 blocks if you want to for the hands on the sides of the feet. And you don't have to use blocks. It's just a little harder for me to touch the ground, but it is always an option. It brings the ground up to meet us where we are. When we're ready, we'll tuck the toe, lift that right knee off the mat, and we're stepping it forward to find a warrior one stance. So the back leg is long, foot on the floor, left knee bent. You decide how long you want it. It can be back far, it can be shorter. Both hips should be shining towards the front. Inhale, arms to the sky to find our full warrior one. And from here, as we lift up, roll the shoulders back. Let's lengthen our left leg, reach to the sky. Exhale, pull the shoulders back, bend the left knee, cactus arms. Inhale, we lift. Exhale, roll the shoulders back. One more time. Exhale, bringing those hands back to our heart center. We're hinging from our hips to find humble warrior. So weight is in the left leg a lot. We lengthen the arms behind us, roll those shoulders back. So long spine, if you were to look in the side mirror, you could slide a ball down from your head to your tailbone is what we want to be lengthened in that neutral spine. Option here, if you want to, you can inhale the arms forward and then exhale, send them back. Feeling a little stretch in the back leg, maybe a little heat in the front leg. Fantastic. And you decide how much you want to hinge forward. So it can be a big hinge or a little hinge. When you're ready, bringing your hands back to heart center. We're straightening the left leg, keeping the knee soft. So there's a difference between, right, a locked knee and a soft knee. And then we hinge even deeper from our hips, finding our pyramid pose. Hands can be on 1 or 2 blocks in front of the left foot. Shifting the hips back is key here. So again, when we lengthen the left leg, we shift the hips back. Still finding our breath here, a little more stretch. From here, moving into some more balance. As we shift the weight into the left leg, we shift forward, walking the block or the hands forward, lifting the right leg off the floor, finding that standing split. We can stay in standing split, or we can find balancing half moon. The first thing we do here is we lift the right leg, the hip above the left. So we're squaring our hips to the long side of the mat, opening to the right side. And then if we want to, we can lift our right arm up. Once that right arm comes up, we look to the right. The foot is key. So that foot should be flexed and pointing towards the right side of the room, the right hip lifted, the right glute strong. We can always come back to standing split at any time. When we're ready, we're all going to meet back in standing split. So squaring those hips, we find balance in the left leg, slowly bring the right leg up, coming into tree pose. So the foot goes above the knee or below the knee, hands in heart center, finding that strong balance. The biggest thing we don't want is the foot pressing on the knee, because that's a joint. So above or below the knee, strong core. A lot of times we want to do this and dump into that hip. So squeeze out of the left glute. And then as we're ready, our arms can float up to the sky, finding that nice balance. If you want more challenge, you can sway your arms, maybe imagining your favorite tree. Or you can grab a neighbor for support. I love it. As I imagine my favorite tree, I don't know why, but I got an image of palm trees. That sounds kind of nice to me. So taking one more big inhale, exhale, releasing that right foot to your mat, hands back to heart center, shake it out. We can find mountain pose. So hands are by our sides, feet under shoulders. Let's inhale, sweep the arms to the sky. Exhale, swan dive, forward fold. Stepping back to find your plank or your down dog or child's pose, and then option to move through your half series. So if you'd like to add in that vinyasa, that's just that half series like we practiced at the beginning. Meeting back in down dog or child's pose, we'll move through our sequence on the other side. So this time, right leg to the sky for three-legged dog or three-legged quadruped. Inhale. Exhale, step the right foot forward to the top of the mat. Biggest importance here is that our knee is in line with our toes, right? Squaring those hips, maybe finding a little stretch in the hip flexor here, enjoying this moment. Then we'll tuck the left toes, lift the left knee, step in a little bit to plant the foot, warrior one on the other side. Right knee is bent. Yes. Core is still braced, shoulders relax back and down. And we're finding a squeeze in this left glute to open up through our left hip flexor. Arms reach up to the sky. Inhale, can we lengthen the right leg, lift tall? Exhale, pull the shoulders back, heart to the sky. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, open the chest. One more time, inhale. As we come forward, feel that nice stretch in the calf. Hands come back to heart center. We keep this position hinging from the hips. So spine long, legs stay where they are. And then arms sweep back behind us. Squeeze the shoulder blades in. Imagine like you're holding a beach ball behind you maybe. Option if you'd like to move with the breath. Inhale, arms can sweep forward. Exhale, arms can sweep back. Finding the strength in our legs. Last time here, we bring the hands back to heart center, pressing our hips back to lengthen the right leg. We walk the hands down the front leg to find pyramid pose. Again, in this position, we can step that left foot in as well if that feels better. When we shift the hips back, we're keeping a soft bend in our right knee. Finding our breath, maybe releasing into this pose with every exhale. Maybe feeling a stretch for our hamstring before we move into some balance. Taking a big inhale. As we exhale, shift the weight to the front leg. Hands can come into the front block. We lift to standing split. So first little balance challenge. Doesn't have to be a big lift in the leg either. Again, keeping a soft knee bend in the right. Staying here or moving into our Ardha Chandrasana, half moon. First step, lift the left leg, turn the toes to the left mirror. So it means opening your hips. So we're lifting that left leg to open the hips and the body to the left. And then the hand can slowly lift up, the left hand. But thinking about stacking the shoulders. So sometimes I see folks doing this. This is really standing split. We want to lift that hip up on that left side to get the hip opening, the external rotation in that hip. Coming back to standing split at any time. We'll hold for one more round of breath. Taking one more inhale, exhaling, coming back to standing split. So hips are square on the mat. We slowly come up, find our balance in that right leg. Moving into tree pose. So external rotation. Squeezing the glutes, hands come to heart center. I know each side's a little more, a little different. For me, this is my not as stable ankle, I guess. When we're ready, we can float our arms up to the sky, growing our branches. We can also grow them down. Maybe you're a weeping willow, right? Those used to be my favorite trees until I learned that they kill everything else around them. It's like, maybe that's not my favorite. One more round of breath here. Hands come back to heart center, release the foot, shake it all out, roll the ankle, Inhale, come back to center. Find your mountain pose, extended mountain lift. Exhale, swan dive forward fold. Step back to find your down dog or child's pose. And option last time to move through that half series flow if you would like. Coming back to our child's pose or down dog when you're ready. Fantastic. We are gonna all lower down to our knees and turn on the long side of our mat to face this way. We're moving into one of my favorite poses, and that is frog pose. So remembering in frog, we can always stay in child's pose if we'd like. I personally like to roll my mat for my knees in frog. So if you want to, if you've never done it, especially maybe rolling the edges of your mat. We're going to take our knees onto the mat, maybe on the rolled, folded parts, opening our knees as much as we'd like. Toes in a traditional frog are out like this, but if that doesn't feel good for you, you can keep them in like a big, wider child's pose. Sitting our hips back, coming down to our blocks if we'd like. And at any time, if your knees are or your mat's keeping your knees from opening, roll that mat out a little bit more. What I want you to think about here is shifting the hips forward, inhaling, and then exhaling, shifting the hips back. As we shift our hips back, that's where we really find that deep stretch in our inner thighs, our adductors. And then as you shift the hips back, maybe you hold it. We can come down as low as we want to. Just breathing here into the inner thighs with each exhale. Relaxing the muscles in the face and the jaw. So big hip opener here. Taking one more round of breath. When we're ready, we'll slowly press ourselves up. Some of us might feel we could be there forever. And some of us might feel like, oh my gosh, thank goodness it's done, right? We can unroll our mat, nothing pretty about it. And then when we're ready, we'll shift ourselves around, coming into a seated position with our legs extended on our mat. Excellent. All right, I'm going to give you two options for our next pose. We did this one maybe, I don't know if it was last week or the week before. So hands come behind you, right under your shoulders, fingers facing forward. Option one is with the knees bent, okay? Knees bent here. We lift up into reverse tabletop, pressing into our palms, our glutes, little bit upper shoulder work, roll the shoulders back. Eye gaze stays lifted, but not behind us, okay? Option two, so if you're like, I don't like that, but you probably won't like this one either, is our reverse plank. And so you're just lifting up with the legs extended. It's a little bit more intense for the shoulders with the legs long, but you can try either option. You can flow between the two. Think about pressing out of up and out of the shoulders versus letting that work fall into the shoulders. Nice long spine, long neck. Take one more big inhale, a little upper body strength work here that you didn't know you had. And then exhale, slowly releasing. Fantastic. Legs come out in front of us. Pull out your wrists. So a lot of times we find ourselves in positions where we're like, oh, my wrist hurts. But really, it's not pain. It's because we don't put our body in those positions a lot of times. So it can help strengthen those muscles and joints. Let's bring the left knee or the right knee, excuse me, into our chest. We're going to use it as a break as we slowly come down to our mats. Since we didn't spend a lot of time here, in the beginning of class. We'll finish off here. As we're ready, can we bring the other foot in to meet it? So knees to chest, little rock side to side, massage that low back. And then as you're ready, take your feet to the mat in front of your hips. Feet are facing forward. Hands come in by our sides. We press into our feet. Inhale, lift the hips up to the sky, find bridge pose. And we're going to hold in our bridge today instead of adding our flow to our breath, which we usually do for our warm-up. Options here. We can send the arms up and overhead, so a little less stability, a little more challenge. We can reach our arms behind us. Or my personal fave is to take the hands under the hips, clasp the fingers together, maybe lift up a little higher up on the shoulders. Feel that nice release in our hip flexors. Knowing if there's any pain in the knees, we can always lower the hips down just a little bit. If there's pain in the knees, that's our stopping point. Holding for one more round of breath. And then exhale, slowly lowering down onto our mats. Feet walk to the edge of the mat, and we'll just drop the knees right and left for that nice little windshield wiper pose. And then as you're ready, we'll bring our knees into our chests for our last pose of the day. We have some options here. You can let your knees fall over to that right side. My favorite for me now feels good just with my feet on the floor. Walk my knees over to the side, arms come out into that T position for our spinal twist. Or if you're a fan of one knee into the chest, you can lengthen the right leg, left knee comes in, and we roll to one side, really keeping the left shoulder down into the mat. That helps us find this nice twist here. And only if we're doing the walk the feet over like me, you don't have to go super far. You can just let them go to that right side of the mat. Eye gaze maybe in the opposite direction if you'd like, or the same. Or sometimes I just like to rock my head side to side. Taking one more inhale and exhale here. Maybe slowing down the breath once again. When we're ready, we can bring our knees back to center or knee back to center. Walk the feet or drop the knees over to that other side. If you're doing one knee, you'll just take the other knee in and drop it over to the left. Letting those knees fall all the way to the mat, enjoying this nice stretch. Option is to always let the knees come to the block as well. Taking one more round of breath here. As we are ready, we'll exhale, coming back to center. Taking any last and final poses that we're wanting to explore in our body today. Maybe that's happy baby or just knees to chest. Whatever that might be for you today. When you're ready, we'll make our way to our favorite pose for our final relaxation, whether that's on our backs, on our sides, seated. Finding our favorite rest pose when we're ready and enjoying all the benefits of all the poses, the active poses that we just did in our practice. Whether that's Shavasana on our back, we can bend our knees, let our knees open. Maybe starting to close our eyes once again, bringing our focus back to our deep diaphragmatic breath, our 3-part breath. Relaxing the muscles in our jaw, our face. Maybe if we're even noticing our tongue on the roof of our mouth or teeth, let it fall to the back of our throat. Starting to wiggle your fingers and toes, just bringing a little awareness back into your body and your space. As you're ready, you're welcome to slowly bring your knees back into your chest, rolling over to your favorite side, maybe using your arm as a pillow, just adjusting your heart rate, blood pressure. And then as you're ready, you're welcome to press yourself up, coming back to a seated position. Any seated position works. We'll sit up nice and tall, lengthening our spine together as we inhale, arms to the sky. As we exhale, hands come into our heart center. And we end our class by saying the light in me honors, sees, and observes the light in each and every one of you. So thank you for being here today. Y'all have an awesome rest of your week.